Pretty damn gold.
Hello and welcome to episode 67 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name is Chet Roivas. With me, as usual, is John Denton.
Motherboy.
The same thing as usual. This is two top 10 lists. The 10 games we've been playing over the past 7 days. Number ones are the games we've been playing the most over the last week, and the number 10s are the games we've been playing the least. John, put me out of my misery.
All right. Number 10 for me is Remember Me. This was a game that I thought, I'll go back to it. You know, we talked about it last week, and I said to myself, give it another go. Maybe I was a bit tired when I played it before. You know, give it another go. So I did. I was stuck in the same memory thing that I was doing before the first one, and I had to do it again from the beginning of that. Even though I was pretty sure I'd done it, it must have not saved. I don't know. So I sat through the bollocks at the beginning of that, and it gets to the bit it's doing the tutorial of that again, and the game just crashed out on me, and I was like, that seems like a sign that I shouldn't play this again. However, I did. I reset the PS3 and played it again and did that bit, and it is clever and it's cool, but then after that I just went back into the game world and did a bit more combat, and I was just like, I'm not feeling it. And I think it's because I know it didn't help, of course, that I'm playing it after watching however many video games in this week's E3. Not that a huge amount of them are hugely more inspiring than Remember, which is quite an interesting game, if nothing else. But it just made me want to not play it and think about all the games that are coming up, and so I didn't.
That's a shame. It's the kind of thing I think you might like if you got far enough, but then again,
I kind of wish it was 3 hours long.
Yeah, so do I.
Cost like £12 and was focused around those memory things, and yeah. Then I'd bash through it, definitely. But I know if it's, what's it, eight standard length, is it?
It's slightly shorter. I mean 7-8 hours, I'd say.
Yeah.
But it's the amount of
time.
Yeah, the amount of water treading in it just is what really destroys it.
Exactly.
But it's worth experiencing for everything else. If you're unsure about it and you're listening to this, when it's £20, it's worth it. Definitely.
Do we know how it did? I haven't checked the charts this week.
It came in at number 3, I think.
Oh, okay, so at least it sold some copies. You know, it's good. I don't wish ban on any game. It's certainly not an offensive piece of work. It didn't really click with me.
All right.
But I still think maybe it's been getting a bit of an unfair kicking. Maybe I gave it a bit of an unfair kicking last week, considering I haven't played that much of it. But people seem to like putting a boot in on it for some reason. But you know, it's always good when someone takes a bit of a risk and puts money into something interesting. But this one just didn't seem to. For me, it doesn't seem to quite have worked out.
Well, I think it's got massive problems, but I recommend it still anyway. Okay, my number 10 is a game called Songs of Travel on PC. It's actually a Flash game. It's a game by Stephen Lavelle, who we've spoken about, who made Slave of God, who goes under the alias Ink Repair Games. And as I said before, he's unbelievably prolific, and he just churns out games like a motherfucker, despite the fact that he seems to be barely surviving on the money he makes. He survives primarily from donations from PayPal, which you can find if you search Ink Repair. But Songs of Travel is... that's the other thing. It's Flash in a browser, but all of his games, they're so... lo-fi that I couldn't imagine anybody who has a computer that's connected to the internet that wouldn't be able to run it. Most of them are PC and Mac compatible, and some of them are Flash, so this one was on a browser. Songs of Travel, a message comes up and it says, paint me a picture of your fondest vacation memory, and up pops this very crude art program. There's 7 colours to choose from, really, really thick. You basically start drawing, and then you draw... It's like 7 colours, and it's shades from white to green. And you draw something, and then next to those colours is a bowl. You click the bowl, and then you basically... From what I can gather, it is... You paint yourself a picture, and then you vomit all over it, because the bowl option just is an unpredictable load of colours that looks like puke. So it's barely a game. In fact, it's not a game. It's just a thing like, I don't know. The most interesting thing about it is some of the comments that people who've played it have put on the actual download page. They seem to be getting something very, very interesting out of something that I didn't really. Seem to enjoy I didn't see. I mean, I've explained exactly what it is. So if that sounds interesting, go and have a look. But I'm going to keep looking through all of his stuff. But this is not a high point so far.
No, but it sounds less like migraine-inducing carnage than Slave of God, though.
Oh yeah, no, it's complete. But it's something he might have done in an afternoon.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Draw yourself a vocation memory and then puke. I don't know.
Something to do in it.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. I'm looking forward to more interesting stuff down the line with him.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, my number 9 is something to do as well. It's a game called Malicious. Now, given the short time frame between recording the last podcast and recording this podcast, because someone's fucking off to Germany, it isn't me, I decided to smash through as much of PlayStation Plus as I could. Everything else I'll talk about later, I knew what it was already, but this game, have you ever heard of Malicious?
No, I can't say I have, no.
It's like the styling's very anime. I didn't know. I thought it might end up being an RPG or something like that. It's a weird action game that it's like a third-person action game where you scoot around these worlds and attack enemies, but the way you attack them is almost by firing things off your body, and then you're dodging bullets. So it's almost like bullet hell in third person, but it was completely unengaging and very, very floppy. The camera shit, the controls weren't very good. It looked nice, it was stylish. I'm assuming it was just a PSN game that completely passed me by. But when it comes to stuff on PS Plus, because you can download a lot, it's kind of like Netflix. If you're flicking through Netflix and you don't know what you're going to watch, if it doesn't grab you within 5 minutes, often you might just switch to something else. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about PS Plus stuff. This didn't grab me at all. Plus the fucking anime girls in weird short skirts, that stuff always scums me out. So I just didn't want to spend time with the limited time I had to play games for the podcast this week. I didn't want to spend time on this one when it wasn't grabbing me.
That actually sounds quite shit. It's recent though, isn't it?
It was 2012, it said. It's decent looking. Maybe there's a great game in there. I should have looked up some reviews, actually. I forgot. But it seemed like it had ideas and potential, but it just didn't do anything for me almost immediately.
Okay, fair play. Well, it's from 2012, which is nice. It's funny. I mean, obviously, people have heard... You heard about that Microsoft are going to reward 360 gold accounts by giving them 2 free games. I was like, oh, yeah, that's clearly inspired by PSN. But PSN, Sony give you stuff like Catherine and Hitman Absolution, not fucking Halo 3. How old is Halo 3? And
they're both 5 years old.
Oh, my God. They just... don't even get me started.
Halo 3 might be 6 years old or even older.
Oh my God! I'm still speechless.
Yeah,
we're still. I mean, this only happened this morning, so I'm still. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, all fine having those games. Chuck them on by all means. Bit weird. This Assassin's Creed 2, Halo 3 is a classic Microsoft, Xbox game, so I don't mind that too much. But if that's really what you're shouting about in your conference, those 2 games, come on. You can go and buy both of them for about 14p.
Yeah, that's it. It's a non-gesture.
Yeah, second hand. You won't like that, will you?
Okay. Anyway, change the subject. Let's. My number 9 is. Have you? What happened?
Sorry,
there?
I'm adjusting my seat. I'll sit differently so I don't do the old seat adjust. People don't like that. Well, you. There we go.
Okay. Are you done?
I'm undone.
Genuine. Okay, right. My number 9 is a game called The Chickening on Xbox 360.
You can pick them.
It's an indie game. This is brand new. Yeah. It's actually not bad at all. It's a platformer, a side-scrolling platformer, and you're a chicken. The cover art was interesting straight away. It's a guy in a chicken suit who's got like a green army helmet and a rocket launcher and a chainsaw. So I was like, yeah, I'll download that. It's just a side-scrolling game with a chicken, and it shoots lasers from its eyes, and you jump, and there's enemies that are like cat heads on human faces and Zimmer frames with eyes. I mean, funnily enough, it made me think of Black Knight's Sword. It's that wacky, but it's kind of made in the cheapest. It looks like a really, really like a 9-year-old's collage or something. You're walking around on like what looks like babies' arms that have been like cut out of a newspaper.
Right.
And for a game that's as simple and unambitious, it's actually like surprisingly entertaining, and it's well designed as well. It's not for most platforms that you play, especially on the indie game space, are just really, really just they're a chore to play. This is actually all right. Yeah, I was completely and utterly surprised. It's completely a jumble sale, I suppose you'd say. It looks like a collage that a child would have done on the front of a school exercise book or something with loads of random stuff. But it's a surprisingly efficient little platformer. It's fine. 80 Microsoft points as well. Good on it.
Cats' heads on human faces walking around on babies' arms.
Yes,
that sounds horrendous.
And there's also disembodied fingers and stuff. It's weird looking and not in an unpleasant way, and it's just fun to play. It's good. The chickening, check it out.
Great name.
Yeah,
truly. All right. Sticking with my PS Plus, Joe Danger 2 the movie is number 8. You talked about it ages ago. I've got nothing more to add. I was playing it, and I was like, "This is cool. This is fine. It's fun. It's nice. It's bright. It's stylish." I don't really have anything bad to say about it, but it just didn't. It didn't grab me. Kind of the same as Joe Danger 1, but more so. I felt like I just wanted to get back on the normal bike and do bike stuff, and it kept switching me. I was starting in a minecart and all this sort of stuff at the beginning. It made me either want to play Joe Danger 1, Trials, or Stuntman Ignition from ages ago on 360, because that was obviously you're a stuntman and it kind of had that quite cool trial and error, almost like the club but a driving game, which that's a terrible analogy. But it just made me want to play something else, which I feel bad, because if I'd bought it and this was the only game I had right now, I'd probably stick with it. But again, it's that PS Plus syndrome. It's the light and shade of PS Plus.
Yeah, Joe Danger's a funny one. I love the first one, but as soon as I started the second one, I just thought. But again, I feel unfair because it's clearly a high quality, polished, well thought out product. But I didn't really have the time to give it the time.
But it just didn't grab me again. No. So there's something to be said for a game like that not getting you in the first 10 minutes. I mean, the first couple of levels, they are quite boring, actually, especially if you play the first game. And I'm obviously played a lot of Trials, and they're very similar. I know how to play those games. So, I feel bad because, like you say, it's clearly very well made and a passion project. So, yeah, I do feel bad.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. Okay, right. My number 8 is a game called Gun Brothers or Gun Bros, which I played on a Windows phone. My girlfriend's got a new Windows phone. She had loads of games on it, so I just said, let's have a look. And I played, Gun Bros. It's heavily inspired by Chaos Engine. It's like a war-torn environment, and you're two meatheads. It's a twin-stick shooter. Looks like it's set on the surface of Mars or something. It's fine. It's the controls are precise almost to a fault, because at first I thought the thing was broken because the tiniest gesture will move you or it will shoot in a different direction. I mean, you have to be so precise. Once you get used to it, it's actually quite satisfying to play. But at first it's the tiniest movement. Getting used to that is quite something. There's a reasonable level of invention in the game. There's these enemies that I thought were really clever, where you shoot them half to death and they lay flat like they're dead, and then they come up, and then basically you're swamped by all these enemies. Half of them are playing dead and half of them are alive, and it's just trying to sort of keep tabs on what's alive and what isn't. I thought that was actually quite fresh. It's all fucking stat up your weapons, stat up your characters, and it's done with this really confusing. You pick up minerals and then you convert them into coins. Do you want to buy coins? Do you want to buy minerals? It's like it's deliberately
just makes me sleepy.
Yeah, it's set up, I think, to confuse people into spending money when they wouldn't normally. And yeah, I played it for 10 minutes. It was reasonably entertaining, but as soon as I saw all that stuff, I just fucking switched it off. But this minerals thing, I just thought that's a really snide device to try and confuse people into, because not worth talking about. A Chaos Engine ripoff that's not really worth playing. Gun Bros, swerve it.
Yeah. I'm all right for that. And I don't have the phone anyway. Talking of phone games, my number 7 is another free phone game. It's called Stick Tennis. Did my usual thing of going down the list of what's free and hot. I hate myself for saying that. And this was the first one that jumped out, and you can imagine what it is. I don't know why it's called Stick Tennis, because they don't look like sticks. They're little cartoon men. But it's a thoroughly fine phone tennis game. The characters move themselves like Wii Sports Tennis. You swipe the screen to aim your shot and the power, get the timing right. It works really nicely. It's really fast. The sound effect of hitting the ball is exactly the same every single time, the same volume, pitch. It's the same sound effect, so that is kind of like a drill bit going into your skull. But apart from that, yeah, it's fun. It's got some good puns on player names, which I've forgotten all of right now. And yeah, it seemed fun, and nothing was jumping out at me to make me pay for anything either. So yeah, I mean, if you're, it was fun. Yeah, it's good actually. Stick tennis. It was pretty good.
Okay, you can't remember any of those puns?
No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Something about curtains. Something about I have to have curtains. No, I don't know. There was one on Goran Ivanisevic, but I can't even fucking remember. Sorry.
Okay. Shambles. Okay, right, my number 7, this is a bittersweet one. My number 7 is Mount Your Friends on the Xbox 360.
So this is, I heard of this week.
Yeah, this is really bittersweet. I was doing my twice weekly scanning the Xbox Live indie game area, and I saw one game called Mount Your Friends and 2 scantily clad guys grappling, and I thought, oh great, I'm definitely going to download that. I started playing it, and not only is it hilarious, it is excellent. It is an absolutely excellent video game. The annoying thing is I thought I discovered it, and then I grabbed my phone, and literally, brilliantly, one of our listeners had already gone onto Twitter to recommend it to us. And then you noticed that the launch trailer's got like God knows how many hits. Loads of YouTubers are playing it and getting millions and millions of hits. So it became like a phenomenon in no time. And it is hilarious. I mean, if you've seen it, I don't know if you've seen it, you should just go and Google the trailer, Mount Your Friends. You just play these big guys. The first one will mount a goat, and then you have to climb on top, and you've got 60 seconds for each guy. You control each limb, each of the 4 limbs, with the 4 face buttons of the Xbox. And it's unbelievably entertaining just to play. It's first of all, it's the hardest thing in the world, trying to maneuver these sort of guys. Have you seen it?
I watched the trailer, yeah. It did look very funny.
Once you get used to it, though, and you're flinging these guys all over the place and trying to build them as high as you can, it's just incredibly fun, incredibly satisfying. It's a genius idea that I don't know why someone hadn't thought of it before. Besides being amusing, I mean, the guy's junk, I suppose you'd call it in America, swings around like it's a limb, but you can't control it. There's really dramatic music. I mean, imagine the end of I don't know who would it be? Some family-friendly heartthrob at the end of a movie's dead, and then he comes back to life and starts crawling along to go and rescue the girl. Yeah. That's the music, occasionally punctuated by the odd which all of that stuff. I mean, it's amusing. All of that stuff would be for nothing if it wasn't just a fantastically fun to play, and it really is. There's loads of modes. There's loads of content. I was blown away by it, and it's genuinely brilliant, and I'm dead serious. The best game on the Xbox Live indie games is Bleed, but that's 400 Microsoft points, and it's a different thing really. This is 80 Microsoft points. I'm telling you, there's going to be drinking games that are going to spring out of this thing, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I think it's the best 80 Microsoft points you can spend on the marketplace. And
I need to get it. I've got 80 odd points sitting there, in fact.
If you have an I mean, at least the trial. You, as soon as you pick it up, you'll be like, this. There could be tournaments springing up about it. It's that fun, and it's that. I was really just thought to myself, I don't know why this hasn't been made previously to this, because it's so clever, it works so well, and it's just funny. I mean, next time I've got enough people round, we're taking it in turns, and we're going to sort of create some kind of drinking game around it, because it is just brilliant. I'm telling you.
Is it just single player?
No. You can take it in turns. Yeah. So there's all different sort of ways of. I mean, you can have it set up so you can have like I set a game up and I had up to like 8 players in one go, and you take it in turns. Okay. Each guy's got 60 seconds, and you've got to crawl on top of the other guy.
Oh, brilliant! That sounds hilarious.
It's just fantastic. I mean, honestly, if you have an Xbox, I think it's the best 80 Microsoft points you can possibly spend on the machine. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm getting that. Definitely.
You got it. Mount your friends. I'm telling you.
No, I'm there. I'm there all day.
Nice.
All right. My number six, is The Cave, which is another PS Plus. This, talking about PS Plus. Look at all this. This was. You aware of The Cave?
I am, but I've somehow never seen screens of it. I don't know what it is.
Okay, so it's the Double Fine game, their most recent game, I think, came out a little while ago. It's Ron Gilbert, the guy who did Monkey Island and all that shit back in the day. Yeah. It's basically a point-and-click adventure, but the way you interact with it is completely different. You're a bunch of characters, and you have to go down into this cave and solve puzzles. You can control 3 of them at once, skipping between them. For example, I had the Knight, Time Traveller, and Hillbilly. There's also like some weird twins, like a monk, some other ones I can't remember. They don't have unique abilities, but apparently later on in the game they have unique areas that tell their own little story. And all it is you use the 3 people at one time. For example, one guy had a crowbar, he needed to open a thing, you switch to the other one. Once that's opened, a lever pops up, so the other one can grab the lever, which pulls up a gate. Then the fucking third one rings a bell, then a monster comes out to the bell, and the first one had to go back and get a hot dog, get that on a stick. Then the monster jumped out, ate the hot dog, and the first one at the top could then press a lever for the claw to go down to get the monster. This type of sort of logic puzzle, right? It's basically point and click puzzles, but done in engine, as it were, without having to use language. It's actually the verbiage is actual interaction. Clever, funny. It's written well, as you'd expect. The cave itself is a character and sort of runs a narrative like a I can't even think of the right word. Just talks the whole time, monologue, whatever. And it's kind of classy, but again, after a little while, after about probably 45 minutes of this one, its appeal started to wane because the solutions to the puzzles were reasonably obvious, but the actual mechanics of carrying that out was a bit of a pain in the arse. And it would be things like, okay, I've got the solution, I bring everything together, but I forgot one component part, and then I have to go all the way back with one character, get that thing, bring it all the way back, and then you might be slightly out. So that stuff isn't quite as refined as it should be. And then on top of that, the platforming itself, because it's all side-scrolling 2D platforming, the interaction isn't amazing. So when you're frustratingly having to repeat stuff that you know the answer to, but you're just having to do the legwork to actually do it, and the platforming, you slip down when you want to, or you can't quite grab the ledge when you want to. It was just kind of building. You felt like another maybe 2 months in the pan, and it would have come out a lot better because the style's there, the writing's there, the humour's there, but it just doesn't quite gel together enough. But A, it was cheap anyway, and B, free on PS Plus, or as free as PS Plus is, so no complaints there. It won't be deleted. I think I might go back to it because it was a lot to like. I think it would work well on Vita. Actually, I don't think it's available for that, but it would be a good handheld game.
Yeah, it's that's a game that I've heard so much about, and yet I've managed to keep very, very far away from.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely cool. It's not. There's something about the pace of those classic point-and-click adventures, and the thing is, I haven't played them since the 90s. I don't think I've played any of them since the 90s, so they're games that have very fond memories for me, but I'm sure if I actually went back to them, I'd find them incredibly frustrating. In fact, I know I would, because I can even remember as a kid not having a clue what to do and just walking around for hours. But you just did that sort of stuff as a kid, mainly because you couldn't look online, because there was no online to look on. You couldn't afford to buy more games, and you had a lot more time and patience, I found. But nowadays, when that sort of stuff isn't quite as smooth as it could be, I find myself quickly distracted, which is probably my fault as much as anything else, because the game doesn't really do much wrong.
Genuine. Yeah, it sounds like a weird one, that. I'll play it some. Is it on the Xbox as well?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I thought it was.
And PC, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Strange. Okay, well, my number 6 is Phoenix HD on iOS. I played it on the iPad. I spoke about it a few weeks ago. It's a very, very, very good cave-style vertical shooter that's looks absolutely stunning on the iPad and looks great on a phone as well. It's got a really strange look to it. It kind of looks like almost, for some reason, I always think of Transformers. Not necessarily the fact that it's drawn the same way. It's that just the colours. There's something very strangely retro about it, whilst at the same time it looks really, really new. That's a terrible explanation, but it looks really nice.
I know what you mean. I think because I've also seen the game, but yeah.
They've got. I do like the way it's presented. Basically, the game itself's free. And then you can download new ships, and the ships completely change the game. So you can buy a ship that can slow down time, and there's one where you have a laser and it's activated when you don't move, and there's one where you get into danger and it powers your weapons. It's like really cool. I mean, it's the game is there if you want to sort of have the vanilla version, but you can buy different game types. I think that's a really good. If you're going to do, if that's how you're going to do microtransaction, I think that's the best way to do it. I bought an extra ship because I've played the vanilla version quite a lot, but I bought the Phantom ship, which I think just came out like a week or two ago, and basically it's really clever. It's the same game, but as soon as you pull your finger off the screen, it turns into ghost mode, and for a brief amount of time you can let the bullets sort of wash over you.
Okay.
You only have a finite amount of time that you can do that, but it's... I haven't played every shooter on iOS, but it just seemed like the kind of thing that wouldn't work on a console, but just that whole letting go of it at exactly the right moment. Really, I just thought that's a perfect system to implement on an iOS shooter, and I was like, I haven't seen it done before. Really, really liked it, and it's an excuse to go back to the game. I love the localized scoreboards, so you can see everyone in your area what their scores are like, and there's a fearsome high score in Brighton. I'm telling you, I don't know how the guy did it. I like the fact that it's got really mellow music. I've never played a shooter that's got really chilled music, and because it's as hectic as anything you can compare it to, but you get into this really nice chilled out trance playing it. And when you're looking at in the menus to see what those other ships do, if you want to buy them, it's nicely presented. There's little flash videos, you can see how they work and what they do. It's just a really nice game. If you've got an iOS device, at least get the freebie Phoenix HD. It's really, really good, and I recommend the Phantom ship. And at some point down the line, I will get another one as well. It's I think that's a good way to do microtransactions. Really.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
Sweet, yeah. As I said a while ago, I did like playing that game when I did. Good stuff. My number 5 is ICO HD, or as I've always called it, Eco. But I was badgered by the world to call it ICO, but I still think it's called Eco. Anyway, regardless. On PS Plus this month, the Eco and Shadow of the Colossus HD collection is on there. So fantastic. I haven't played ICO. I call it ICO. I haven't played it since I bought it when it first came out. In fact, I have actually tried to replay it once, but it was too muddy on PS3. This was my original disc version, and I had a backwards compatible one. So this is the first time I played it since it came out properly. And man, I tweeted this earlier. I don't think there's ever been a classier game ever. It's just... This was the game that really said to me when it came out and opened my eyes to what this medium could achieve. And in many ways, it's probably partly responsible anyway for me continuing into a path into the industry, or at least the journalistic side of the industry, just because it came at a time. I don't know how old I was when it came out. I don't know if I was 18 or 16 or... No, I must have been about 19, in fact. Anyway, a time where I was still reasonably green, wet behind the ears, fucking emotional wreck. But still, there was so many component parts of this game were so special, and this was still a time when gaming was quite marginalised, much more than it is now. And I always felt like you're having to justify it to people, even not in real life, whether you'd be doing it on a forum or just in your own head, in my own head. Anyway, but this was the game that really said to me that the games can be something more than just fucking blasting people and stuff. You wouldn't guess by watching most of the stuff that's come out of E3, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And playing it this far on, it's still got that incredible classiness about it. And it's actually quite a simple game. It's just rooms with puzzles, A, B, C solutions to most of them. The only complicated stuff is the interaction between you and Yorda. But even that, when you watch it now and kind of break it down, it all seems quite simple. But I mean, I said this about other games before, but I just don't understand how it got made. Like I said, the game I always say that about to myself is Street Fighter 4, because I don't understand how they made a game that balanced with that many permutations to everything, that every single move is designed to counter other moves which are designed to counter. But even thinking about it, it's like fucking thinking about Back to the Future. It just breaks my brain. But for Ico, I can understand physically how it got made. It's a reasonably simple game, says the guy who couldn't even write a line of code. But you know what I mean. But I don't understand how it got. This is a full boxed game early on in the PS2's life, and how did this happen? Such a mute, quiet, considered, classy, special piece of work. And it's amazing. It's such a shame that The Last Guardian is apparently on hiatus and may never see the light of day, because they're a special bunch over there.
Yeah, I've never played either of those games properly.
Damn.
I've played them in sort of bits and pieces. I remember some guy forced me to fight one of the Colossi bosses in the second.
Out of context.
Exactly. And someone was trying to convince me that Ico is the greatest thing ever, and just forced me to do a couple of puzzles and stuff. And obviously, I need the time to do both of those, really.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm aware, Ico is not a long game at all. I don't think I think you can do it in 5 hours. It's a shame you haven't got PS Plus, because you just download it and leave it sitting there.
Well, I might have PS Plus soon, boy, I'll tell you that.
Well, I suppose you're going to need it if you're investing in PS4, and given that I'm assuming you don't want to shell out the extra 80 sheets for something that is rather unpleasant from a consumer point of view, then I'd assume you'd be vouching for PS4.
I'm stuck. We actually had this conversation today, because I'm saying to all my friends, look, backwards compatible. One thing that really pisses me off that not many people are kicking off about, I don't want to have 2 boxes to play Xbox games on, because you can't. Having 2 massive bricks, one to play 360 and XBLA games, and the other one to just play Xbox One games. It's like fucking clutter. But another thing that people aren't talking about, I know Sony's come out and said all that great stuff about the lack of DRM and all that stuff, but Sony use. But people think it's going to be the end of online passes. Whereas I've got The Last of Us sat here. That's got an online pass. Sony use online passes, so that stuff's not going to go away. I want to see what EA do, though, because
that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, they're going to have to bring the passes back, but only for Sony and not Microsoft. What a mess. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. What the hell happens, because I don't know. I've never seen anything like it. I don't think it could have gone worse for Microsoft. How could it possibly have gone any worse?
They topped it off with a rape joke, which was just bizarre.
Yeah.
In the middle of that Killer Instinct bit. It's like, surely that wasn't scripted. Did you actually say that? I mean, maybe I can imagine someone just saying something like that, and then the second he says it, he's just like, oh God, what did I just say? But just keep playing, forget about it.
It might be the kind of thing he says to his mates during a fighting game or something.
Yeah. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, but given everything else that happened, it was just like, Jesus Christ, guys.
Yeah.
Don't say that. I mean, I'm all for a joke, but that was just a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything else, I don't know, the games didn't do a massive amount for me, the Xbox games, but then again, not that many of the PlayStation games did either. It's more price, perceived quality of the fact that the PlayStation, by all accounts, is a more powerful box, and all that other stuff, all the DRM backwards compatible stuff, which I think in a few years won't even matter, because you'd just be downloading everything anyway. But yeah, they're having a PR disaster right now over at Microsoft. A disaster.
Yeah, I don't see how they're going to come. I honestly think they're going to get crucified at Christmas and then come back, and when they're presenting some game, whether it's a new Halo or whatever, they're going to slip in the information and it's going to be completely. They're going to slowly work it in like they're giving something to us by saying that they're cutting some of those features. Yeah. But then again, a lot of them, I'm sure, there's fucking secret handshakes between publishers as well. Who the fuck knows? Oh.
It's weird. But right now, yeah, not good at all.
No.
In terms of certainly their hardcore perception, but they've got the extra stuff for FIFA Ultimate Team, the extra the downloadable stuff first for COD. That's all that'll matter to millions.
Yeah,
they'll shell out the extra £80 for that. So we'll see.
Yeah, our friend Zeno, he said today, he said I'd pay £450 just for Forza. And he never buys second-hand games anyway, so to him it's a no-brainer. And we all play games together, so we can't break the. And half of the people I play games with can't stand the PlayStation pad. I don't know, whatever. We've been talking about absolute nonsense for ages. Are you done? What were you talking about?
Yeah, Ico.
Ico, yeah.
A wonderful game.
Yeah, I need
to keep it classy. Ico.
Have you, that's yours to keep now?
Yeah. Fair play. You download it and then it's just there.
Wow.
And even if you delete it, I think you can then re-download it, even if it's no longer in PS Plus.
Fucking hell.
My hard drive's just RAM full of gameage.
That's the only thing that's wrong with it. Can you use an external?
Yeah, you can swap the hard drive over.
Swap the hard drive over, but can you add an external hard drive?
Oh, I'm going to say yes, but that might not be true.
Okay. All right. Well, I will play those two at some point. I really will. It's ridiculous that I haven't yet. Okay. All right. My number 5 is Black Knight Sword.
Oh man!
On the Xbox 360. I don't know. The one thing I knew was bothering me because when I edited last week's podcast, I can't believe I finished talking about it and said Black Knight shit. It's the worst thing I've ever said, considering how many things I could have said, such as Black Shite Sword, Black Knight Paw, Cack Knight Sword, Lack-ing Knight Sword, Hack Knight Sword,
Slack
Knight Sword, Fack Shite Board. I mean, you get the idea. I was just pissed off that I'd sunk to such a terrible level. Anyway, I was sort of sitting on the dashboard. That was running around in the shit swamp that is my brain at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I stuck it on Black Knight Sword. It just pissed me off even more than it already had done. There's bits in it, numerous bits, where they'll put a collectible, they'll bait you into going somewhere that you instantly die. And it's like, brilliant, now I know not to do that next time. It's just a really shitty device that the weakest, the most piss poor games use, and I'm so disappointed to say this uses as well. It's another thing to make it harder and more hardcore, and hey, I bet you can't complete this without dying. Piss off. I still think I would have liked it better if it was a half-hour cartoon, because I love how it looks. It really is warped visually. I mean, there was this great bit where I cut through a load of massive slices of toast, and then the next thing I was in the desert and I passed by a gang of Hell's Angels off the side of Route 66, and they were all standing around watching leather-clad pigs race each other on motorbikes. And I was like, this is awesome. I mean, it looks so... It's so wacky and brilliantly so, but just as a game, it is feeble. I mean, it's a feeble offering. I mean, if it had come out and I'd had to give it a score in a magazine, I don't know what I'd have given it, but it would have been fucking low, because it's just I hate it. I fucking hate it. You know, I might finish it because I'm doing it on easy, and it's pleasant to look at. This is when you don't have to worry about completely and utterly getting screwed over every 5 seconds, but. Black Knight's Sword is not recommended.
Black Knight shit.
No. Black Shite Sword. Fack Shite Board. I'll stick with that.
My number 4 is Shitman Absolution.
Nice.
He's alright though. Yeah, I played another PS Plus Top Boy. I played the first couple of levels. It is it's all right. Like, I don't know. I knew what it was going into it. I knew it wasn't Hitman, Blood Money, straight in, hardcore, all the options in front of you. You know, everything everybody's complained about. I knew what it was, so I'm going in with different preconceptions. And you know, it's nice looking. It feels nice. People often forget how fucking shit Hitman Blood Money was to control. It was a piece of junk. So this game is smooth as hell. to control. Really nice to go and do the garrot some motherfucker, put him in a bin. Like, that was an ordeal. Just trying to do that smoothly. Every time I fucked up on Blood Money, it's because the controls let me down. Every time, apart from all the other times where I fucked up for other reasons. But, you know, already, this at least allowed me to plan and execute what I wanted to do, even if what I wanted to do didn't feel like it had quite the scope of the older games. And I hear that some levels later on are like that, but what I played felt a bit more controlled. It seemed fine, it just wasn't very appealing, you know. This is coming off the back of watching... I don't mean to be down about E3. I'm actually not at all. There's a bunch of games I'm very excited about. I'm so fucking hyped for Destiny. Obviously, the UFC game, it holds massive appeal. A bunch of others. The Crew from Ubisoft looks sweet. A bunch of games that looked exciting. But, you know, generally speaking, a lot of kind of dirgy, gritty, angry, shooty games. Most of which I'm sure will be fun, but still. Yeah. After all of that, for hours, playing Hitman Absolution, which is about as grimy as you can get, wasn't hugely appealing at that particular moment in time. I don't know. I think I will go back to it. I don't know if I'll stick it out. I want to do a bit more and see if it opens up a little bit. I think it's definitely helped going in knowing, A, not being a massive fan anyway, and B, knowing what I knew about this game, what to expect, not going in with false high hopes or anything like that. But mechanically I don't mind it at all, but thematically it's just not doing anything for me. It doesn't upset me or offend me, it's just not grabbing me right now.
It is an unusual case, that game. I thought it was pretty good, and I did enjoy it. It does open up later on. The longer you play it, the sort of more like old Hitman games it becomes.
Right.
I liked it. I mean, it is unpleasant. Just, it goes out of its way to be unpleasant. I mean, dead nuns beaten to death. I mean, it's just it really pushes so many buttons, and it's just sleazy and unpleasant. But as a game, I thought it was quite good.
I do think I'll go back to it a little bit. But after, you know, this is the same day as playing Ecos, playing The Cave, which isn't an amazing game but has a lot of personality. Even Joe Danger, even Remember Me, even. So it was just, I wasn't really in that place mentally today to do Hitman. So I don't know, and I don't know if I will be. So I've been playing lots of like more interesting stuff thematically than that recently, but who knows? I might go back to it.
All right,
it's sitting there for free.
Yeah, indeed. Well, you're not going to miss a whole lot. In fact, you're going to miss absolutely nothing. It's a more than passable piece of entertainment that's also unpleasant, but you know, inessential, hugely.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 4 is Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo.
How?
My little brother's got it.
Oh yeah.
A massive stash.
The SNES.
Yeah. They announced Killer Instinct at the Microsoft conference. Now, there isn't a single... That's the one game. If someone came to me and said, any game you want announced at E3 tomorrow, that was it. I wasn't watching the conference, but I saw Killer Instinct on Twitter and I almost fucking shit myself. And now that I've seen it... Anyway, when I'd heard about it, the first thing I did was go online and look at the clip, and I thought, that kind of looks a bit like Killer Instinct Gold on the Nintendo 64, which was absolutely god-awful, but hey, maybe it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
But immediately I had to play Killer Instinct on the SNES. People have started kicking Killer Instinct. Eurogamer said, it was always shit in the first place. Ryan from Blitz Games was just like, I played it the other day, and it's like clay fire, and I was like, what are you smoking? I don't understand it. People are sort of lining up to give it a kicking. I played it for an obscenely long amount of time yesterday, and it's still a brilliant game. It's unbelievably, it's one of the most influential games I've played because you still feel its influence now. The way combos can be massively long, but they're relatively easy to pull off, just involving a change of direction. It was the first game to have ultras in it, the first game to have combo breakers in it. It still feels good. It still feels like contemporary fighting games. I love it to fucking bits. It's brilliant. I don't know how anyone could not like it. I'm tempted to say people haven't given it enough of a chance. But, you know, as brilliant as the SNES original is, and the arcade, they fucked it up once with the N64 one of the worst games I've ever played. And now seeing... I mean, it looks naff anyway, but hearing that it's developed by the people, the journeyman developers behind Battleship, the game, and Double Helix. They did something. The name
Silent Hill Homecoming.
Oh dear.
And then another really bad horror game, I think.
Oh, and it's going to be free.
Not even Silent Hill. What's the new one? Downpour, which is all right.
Yeah,
Silent Hill Homecoming is just pretty whack.
Yeah, it's. I saw a load of stuff that they'd said about how it's going to and from the last guys at Rare who are still there. I mean, Rare isn't a seal of approval, but these guys are. Let's just say they've got a lot to prove, and the fact that it's going to be free to play with one character, and you have to buy other characters if you want them, which doesn't make any sense because you have to, you play an experiment. Microsoft,
that makes no sense for a fighting game.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It's no respect for the property either. Apparently, everyone thinks the property is rubbish, but they don't know what they're talking about because it is a classic. And all I want, at the end of the day, all I really want is a cheap fucking smash and grab port of the arcade game. Stick it on Xbox Live Arcade for fucking $1,200, whatever. I'll pay it. But this is just playing the SNES version was a joy, and I think it's an absolute classic. And if you don't think so, I think you should try and have a go. I mean, it's the most reminiscent. It's more reminiscent of fighting games of this era than it was of the one in which it came out. Totally, unbelievably influential. I mean, I don't know what Microsoft. It's another thing that I'm just like, Microsoft haven't so much shot themselves in the foot as fucking blown both of their own legs off with a fucking shotgun. I'm annoyed. There's a chance it might be great on the Xbox One. I don't think it will be. I mean, at the end of the day, if there's word that it's even half as good as the original, I'll probably buy an Xbox One solely for it. But
Jesus.
The likelihood of that happening is looking really slim, and I'm pissed off about it. So yeah.
There's I don't have that history with Killer Instinct. In fact, I never played it, so I don't have anything. All I can remember is it being on Games Master and some guy having to do like a 53-hit combo and me thinking that looked too hard.
That's the beauty of it.
But this was in games for like £60, and we were like 9 years old or something. So I wanted Tiny Toon Adventures instead, and I got it, and it was all right.
That's a good game, that.
Yeah, it was all right. The whole thing is they are, apparently, I'm hearing just before we started recording it, that you can buy the whole thing properly. So it's not just free to play; it's also free to play. So it's still a weird model. I don't understand why you choose that game as free to play, like a real esoteric, very specific audience fan service game. Free to play just says mass market to me, so it's weird. I don't get it. It smacks of people not really know what they've got.
If people are going to get beaten online because you can only pick Jago, and then they'll pick the character they get beaten with, and it might not be the kind of character they normally play with, so they wasted money on it. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. The only game that really got me excited about Xbox One, while we're on that subject, was Titanfall, which I thought looked great. It's very. It is what it is, but because that was the only one that was exclusive to Xbox, wasn't it? Out of all the new stuff that we've seen over the last 2 days, that's not Microsoft. But I thought it looked fucking pretty damn good, and obviously the quality's there with those guys that Respawn.
Yeah, so, it looked like Halo crossed with Call of Duty, and I was like, that looks.
But with the class of both.
Yeah, it looked fun. It did look fun. That not going to change the world, but
no, but they were never trying to. I don't think, were they? But it does look cool. But yeah, Destiny, man. It's as good as Destiny looks. It's because it's Bungie that gets me pumped. Anyway, my number 3 is Infamous 2, which was on the bottom of my list on PS Plus, and I thought, you know what, I'll give it another go because I quite like the look of Second Son stuff, mainly because they had that one Nirvana tune on the trailer, and I was like, oh, that's a cool choice of tune. They didn't go for the obvious. But yeah, it looked really nice, didn't it? I don't know if you saw the Second Son stuff, but it did look nice. Yeah, it just graphically looked really fucking nice. So I thought I'd go back to Infamous 2, which I enjoyed the first hour and a half that I'd played already. And, it's really good. It's really good. It's a lot better than the first game. It came out so quickly after it that I wasn't ready for another Infamous. I just assumed it would be exactly the same. But they've learnt so much from the first game in terms of just stripping out all the boring crap and just making everything as fun as it can possibly be. It's almost like Saints Row in that way. It's not out there like Saints Row, but everything's just pared down and kind of sanded down to its most fun form, and just moving around that world as Cole is just fun. It's super fast. You know, you've got all the grinding stuff that works even better now. They've put stuff in that you can kind of... Their electrical cables go vertically up a building, so you just jump on it and it shoots you like a grav lift almost up the side of a building, so you don't have to get stuck climbing it like Assassin's Creed. You can just keep moving. And then the action stuff plays like a really good third-person shooter with some cool physics stuff in there as well. You can like fucking launch up cars, and I just fired a car into a helicopter like Die Hard 4, and it causes this massive explosion. It's like, this is just fun as fuck. The pace keeps going on. You know, it is an open world, and the open world kind of feels a bit dead and bland, to be honest. But if you just keep stacking up mission after mission, it doesn't really matter. You're just using it as a playground. And yeah, I've decided, I'm gonna stick with it. You know, this is a really good game, and it deserves. If you've got PS Plus, as I'm sure many people do, and it's been sat there forever, I'd highly recommend it, man. Even if you played Infamous 1, which eventually lost its way and got a bit boring, I like the beginning of that game, this is way more fun. It's just fucking daft fun. Yeah. It's really good, and it's made me excited for the PS4 one as well.
I only played the first one. I played it when they gave it away after the PSN outage.
That's right.
I really loved it as well. I thought the first one was slick. I didn't complete it, so I don't know if it went to shit after
it didn't go. No, it certainly didn't go to shit. It's just, as so many games do, it just kind of runs out of steam and, sputters over the line. It didn't fall apart or anything like that.
Genuine. I was going to make some terrible joke there about pouring water on coal and steam, and then it wouldn't run out of steam. Genuine. Okay, my number 3 is Battlefield 3. The Battlefield 4 footage looks absolutely vomit-inducingly good.
Yeah, the multiplayer, you mean?
Yeah, the multiplayer. I mean,
although the single-player stuff did look great with all the planes falling in the... it did looked great. It looked as a spectacle.
And it'll be reasonably entertaining to play. It's just I don't really give a shit. The multiplayer just looked unreal. I mean, the problem is you don't know how much of what we saw is scripted.
With the skyscraper falling down
and just shooting up and sort of taking the ceiling out, and I mean, we'll see what DICE promised Battlefield 3 was going to be with regards to destructibility didn't end up being what they said it was going to be.
No.
But it just, oh god, it looks good.
It does.
They really do know what they're doing. God damn it, it looks. I mean. Yeah, it looks unreal.
Yeah, it looks unreal. It definitely does.
But yeah, Battlefield 3 is still great. There's been an influx of people. We played tonight, and there's a huge influx of people. The amount of people playing Battlefield 3 shot up. I'm assuming, I'm sure it's not stupid to assume that it's because of the showing at E3 of Battlefield 4. And yeah, it's actually, I'm almost certain that's what happened, because we played uncommonly well tonight, and we just kept winning and winning and winning. So I think it's some poor bastards who thought, I'll go on and see what's happening in Battlefield 3, and then we completely smashed them up, and I feel bad. But anyway,
they'd do it to you.
Yeah, they would. Battlefield 3 is still great, but Battlefield 4 is the one.
Yeah, it looks fucking good. I was going to say something about it, and I've completely forgotten. A tragedy. Never mind.
I think, isn't Close Quarters free at the moment?
Oh, is it? I don't know.
I might have imagined that. I could have sworn I read somewhere that to celebrate the whole hoo-ha about Battlefield 4, Close Quarters is free.
Right.
So if you haven't got that yet, have a look and you might be able to get it.
Have a Uganda. That's right. Pretty damn gold. Battlefield 4, pretty damn gold. Like I said it was going to be before they even released the first image.
Is it gold?
So, pretty damn gold. Pretty damn gold. It's way golder than Battlefield 3, which was pretty damn blue.
I don't know if it was pretty damn gold.
Check out that single player footage. PDG, pretty damn gold. John Denton, Chet and John's Recently Find Out playlist. #1 journalist.
All right, I didn't see any fucking gold, but all right.
PDG.
All right.
My number 2, which I'm guessing is probably high up on your list. In fact, I'm guessing these might be the same. Is The Last of Us.
Yeah.
I decided to. Technically, a lot of this is also not this week. I replayed a bunch of it. Is this technically allowed in our rules? Whatever. I replayed a bunch of it because it's so fucking good that I just wanted to do it again. And it's still amazing. I spoke at length about it last week. I have I don't think I can add much more to what I said last week. I haven't played multiplayer yet. I wondered what you thought of what you've played.
Okay, I managed to keep a lid on it last week, and but I was not impressed by the opening. I thought the game actually gets off to a pretty wet start. I mean, the problem. I will be the first to say that when I started playing it, I sat down less than 4 hours after the most gushing reviews in history had landed.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. But yeah, after the opening few, I mean, it was good, it was solid, it was gorgeous, and there were some really impressive aspects of it. But I thought that the stealth element was way too oppressive, and I was enjoying it, but at the same time, I was just thinking there's too much wrong with this already. But as it's gone on, I'm now. I wouldn't like to estimate. I'm enjoying it so much, and I'm so immersed in it that I'm completely unable to even guess how far through I am. Part of the reason I've not watched everything from E3 and I've kind of kept a lot of it at arm's length is because there is no greater pleasure than sitting down. The only thing I knew about The Last of Us was that Naughty Dog developed it and I'd seen the cover. That's it. I didn't see any of the footage at the last E3. I didn't know about the story. I knew nothing. And sitting down and playing a game like that is just... It's the perfect way to play it. Yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, I'd say I've passed the halfway mark. Just off the top of my head, I've played it for I don't even know.
What season are you in?
It's done in seasons, is it? Is there 4 seasons?
Yeah.
Okay. So a title card will come up?
Yeah, it starts in summer.
You're fucking joking. I don't even think I've seen that yet.
Summer is the title card that happens before the beginning of the game, not the prologue, but the beginning of the game. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I've just got.
It's a long game. It's way longer than most action games. It's like twice as long as your average action game.
Oh, good.
It is a genuine 15, 16 hours. Genuine.
Excellent. I thought I've played it for about 10 hours, but I haven't seen a title card saying that the season had changed. Shit.
Regardless, then you've got some gleam to come in. I'm not going to say any more than that, but it's not a game. Unlike Infamous 1 that we just talked about, this isn't a game that sputters. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. It is something else to behold. It's another reminder that the PS3 is just when Naughty Dog, as I said, have got the keys to it, and they know exactly what they're doing, and they love the storytelling of movies more than anything. And some people really hate that because they do sort of steal a lot of tropes. Well, I say steal, they borrow a lot of tropes from cinema, especially with regards to how the cutscenes blend into the action. But it's so rich. I mean, I haven't noticed one. There's so much dialogue in it. There's incidental dialogue. Depending if you walk in a certain direction, you'll start talking with people and stuff. And none of it's superfluous. It doesn't feel like stuff that most games. There's chatter to just fucking fill the air. But I haven't noticed any of that stuff, and the pacing is perfect. The amount of times I just stopped and thought, I can't get over how much I'm enjoying this. Yeah. And I felt like I was watching a film because I was that involved in it. But then again, it's not perfect.
No. I mean, I gave it a 9, as you know. It was very, very close to being a 10, but I'm very, very happy that I was able to play the game before the reviews hit because, I know what I'm like, and I try and tell myself not to be like that when a bunch of reviews hit and you start playing something. But I implore people, remember the game's not out yet, it's out this Friday, so I implore people who inevitably do pick it up to don't go looking for the 10. That's the best advice I can give you, man. Don't go looking for the 10. You won't be able to help yourself probably, but if you can just play the game for what it is and don't try and think it should be this or it shouldn't be this or I don't know. It's almost impossible. It's like asking you to do, raise your own brain. You can't actually do it, but you just, especially with the opening hours are quite slow, and that's just the way the game is, and just hopefully you can just enjoy it for what it is. And if you try and get that out, if you feel it jumping into your mind, just try and get it out of your mind and just get back to the game. Think about enjoying the game, or take a break. That's another. Just take a break. Just because I'm only saying this, because I want people to enjoy it as much as I did, and not worry about what everyone might have given it in review scores. Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, I think all of that stuff kind of clouded my view of it in the beginning, and I was less forgiving of some of the things it did. I mean, I don't think that one of the main villains, enemies in the game, the clickers, as soon as they catch you, you're dead. I'm not entirely sure because the Naughty Dog games and this one just they kind of like to wash over you, and there was instances where I kept. Because it's auto saves very frequently.
Yeah.
Where it would jump back to an auto save, a clicker would burst through, kill me. I mean, I just kept dying, and I was just like, this is just frustrating and rather irritating, and it just doesn't really feel like. I don't know. Once you get used to the stealth a bit more, you start crafting things to get out of those situations.
It's an uncompromisingly hard game, and I played the majority of it on hard as well, which is very hard. It took me a while to get into the mindset of this isn't. I can't just run through this. Not that I was trying to run through the levels, but like mentally run through it, and do it simply. I had to really, really pay attention and switch my mindset to what the gameplay was going to be. If not, because at some points I couldn't get through it, but other points I was getting through it in an unsatisfying way. Yeah. Not stealthing and just like sprinting through a door or something in a way that I wasn't enjoying. So when I switched my mindset after a few hours, that helped.
Yeah. To be honest, and there were instances where I had nothing, and there's a bit, I don't know if you remember, where you have to pass through these 3 gardens in the middle of suburbia, and I had nothing, so we had to sneak around, and it was one of the most exciting parts of the game. So when you take that into account and realise that you're not always supposed to get into rucks, that's important. And I like the way there's some things that normally a game would spell out to you that this doesn't. I mean, one thing that initially I thought was an annoying thing, because every time you need to change your weapon, Joel has to take his backpack off and switch. It takes like a few seconds to do it. So in the heat of combat, you can't. You're stuck with what you've got. And I thought, that's ridiculous. I don't know. Do I need a rifle? Do I need a shotgun? Then I thought, well, if I've always got a shotgun, if there's someone far away, I've got enough to, the kind of completely basic logic that I would have to come up with if I was in that real scenario, rather than a game telling you, we're too used to being told what to do at every turn, which I thought was... there are also sort of inconsistencies with the NPCs. There's times when you're hiding and Ellie's in plain sight and the people can't see her, which destroys the illusion a bit.
It destroys the illusion, but it's I'd rather that than they see her and you get rumbled.
Oh yeah, no, completely.
But it's a shame when that does happen.
There's also bits when you're sort of sneaking around and you're dead silent and she's making noise, or anyone who's with you makes like really loud noises. I noticed that quite a bit. You don't get heard, so in that sense it's not annoying, but it kind of, again, it breaks the illusion a little bit. These are, when you think about it, these are minor quibbles. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. It's so immersive. I mean, and I love what they've done with the trophies as well, because there's basically no trophies in the game. I've had one. Which was to do with crafting while you were basically out of the game in a crafting menu, which is fair enough. I remember when Heavy Rain came out, I interviewed David Cage, and he said he had a right ball ache because he said to Sony, I don't want any trophies at all. And they insisted, and the compromise they came to was that they popped in the loading screens after, so it wasn't physically in the game. That was the compromise they came to. If you look at the ones on The Last of Us, I don't think there's hardly any. Most of them you'll get when you play through it again, or when you sort of go through the harder difficulties, go after collectibles and stuff like that. And that really meant a lot. Without constantly being pinged up saying you've done this or do this, all that shit. I thought that was really good. That's a conscious effort they've done to sort of make sure that you don't lose focus on the game. It's too early to say. What I think. I mean, it's marvelous. Absolutely. If you own a PlayStation 3, you have to get it. It's the reason you own a PlayStation 3. It's and one other thing I love. People have started to ape Naughty Dog, but they were always the first developer that I thought they never reused assets. The whole thing, all of the Uncharted games are just like you never stop moving, and all of the environments are beautiful, and you just think that I'm going to come back here and do some fucking siege drama, so you don't, and then you on to the next part, and everything. This is exactly the same.
The amount of one shot, like amazing scenes, the amazing sets, I should say, that are just used for nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, fuck me. Yeah, I don't want to even go into detail on that one because it's for people to discover.
Yeah.
But one thing, that scene that you talked about where you had to sneak through that scene, for me, that was a end of the movie, bloody extended shootout with me ending up on the roof in the middle of things, picking things off, surviving by the skin of my teeth nightmare. So that just shows I knew this would be the case, that everybody's skirmishes would be completely different, and everybody's emergent stories would be different, and just hearing that your path through that particular section couldn't be any more different to mine is brilliant to hear.
Yeah, I honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think that all of those reviews, all of that chat, all of that stuff, kind of it did sort of cloud my opinion of it.
Also, I totally agree. The first few, I wasn't really enjoying the first few hours either. I think it does start very slowly. Not the very beginning, but when the game starts properly.
Yeah, and you have to get used to the systems a little bit, especially with the crafting. Which when I first saw that there was crafting in the game, which obviously I didn't know, I thought, oh, is there going to be there? That's perfectly balanced. It doesn't. I thought it was going to be something other than it is. It still has the momentum of an Uncharted game, but at the same, it is. I mean, it is. It's stunning. And like I said, I constantly just stopped and I thought, I'm enjoying this so much. It really is. It's vintage. I mean, Naughty Dog are on another fucking level anyway. I will say one more thing though, and I'll probably bleep this out on the podcast. It is reminiscent in terms of everything, in terms of style, in terms of tone, in terms of plot, from what has happened so far, to a very, very well-liked sci-fi film. Did you not think of anything, though?
Very, very well-liked sci-fi film. Oh, I don't know.
Children of Men.
Oh yeah, totally. That's their number one influence. That's what I was thinking. Like actual. I mean, I know that's sci-fi, but I think that was one of their main. That and The Road are their main two influences.
Oh, they've actually said that, have they?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Particularly the bit in Children of Men where the bike comes down the hill on fire. That's what sealed it. But I thought I didn't want to say because I didn't want to give anything away about the plot. But there's definitely similarities in terms of what the plot's about, and just the nastiness and the bleakness of the violence and stuff like that. It's but I mean, if you're gonna take influence from a film, fucking make it Children of Men. Yeah. Hell yeah!
But yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm less than halfway through, maybe even as little as less than a quarter of the way through, but special.
Yeah, no, I think I don't think you're as far through as you might think, but it is a long game, and I'm really excited to hear what you think by the time you get to the end.
Schweppes.
Right. Was that your 2 or 1?
That was my number 2.
All right, sweet. Is your number 1 State of Decay?
Yes, it is.
Hey. So yeah, similar themes, different gameplay. I've been thinking a lot about themes in gameplay this week. It's been interesting because I watched Nintendo Direct today, and we watched obviously the conferences and everything else. And every setup for one of these big AAA games was, especially the Ubisoft one being the main one, a guy talking about the themes and the concepts and the ideas. Nothing to do with gameplay. These are all story stuff. Whereas Nintendo's one was just literally the minutiae of what you're going to be doing within this game. What's in the menus in like 3D Land, how to access this, what this power up does. It's a completely different philosophy, and it doesn't. No one raised right, no one raised anything like this, but. You could talk about State of Decay's themes all day if you wanted to, but what makes it interesting is its gameplay. And I talked about that I thought it might be a masterpiece last week. Ended up dropping a 9 on it for Video Gamer. It's just a brilliant fucking video game. Yeah. It's sketchy as all hell. The word the Americans use is janky. It seems to be an appropriate word because it stutters, it sputters, it fucking freezes. The frame rate's shit. It looks like ass. But it is a Walking Dead simulation, and it just keeps on giving. The more you play, the deeper it gets. The interpersonal relationships between characters start happening. As the morale drops in your camp, more emergent stuff starts happening. As you start losing crew members, the permanent death. It is the game that so many people have wanted their whole lives, and now it exists, and it just happens to be a 12 quid or wherever it costs, 15 quid downloadable game that doesn't have the budget or the production values of something like Dead Rising 3 that's coming out. But I'll stake my claim now. This would be a better game than Dead Rising 3 will be. As good as that looked, aesthetically from the Microsoft conference yesterday, it won't be as good a video game or as complete or as ambitious a video game as State of Decay is right now.
Yeah, it's I'm loving the digital delivery. I'm loving the fact that I mean, again, as I said, I'm sticking away from. I've just lost interest in previews and trailers and all that stuff.
Sure.
I've just it interests me less and less. The fact that this just arrived, for me, completely with no fanfare at all. I mean, had you heard about this when it was in development?
I knew it existed. I think I'd read a very brief preview on Eurogamer a little while ago, but I didn't realise it was suddenly coming out so soon. So that surprised me, and I also thought it was a slightly different game to what it actually was.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know what it was, and when I sat down, I was like, "This is really good. This is really good. Oh, this is really good." And then I remember the first time I got in a car and realised it was actually a sandbox. I was like, "Whoa! Why hasn't somebody done this before?" I read a brilliant review, and I'm really sorry, I've forgotten where I read it. I think it might have been Joystick. Really, really, really bang on review, but they said something along the lines of it's actually the most mundane things that you're doing, because you're managing all of the people and you're making sure that everyone's all right, and you're sort of making sure that all of you're doing mundane things, but in the heat of all that stuff, the most mental things happen. What's one of the best things that's happened? Again, it's in the similar way to Last of Us. I think probably things that have happened to you have not happened to me, and vice versa.
Yeah,
and I've
absolutely.
I do like they have taken something of the Demon's Dark Souls sort of zombie you could be. I mean, because the Dead Rising style combat is very, very satisfying, and you do feel like you're completely in control of it. The gunplay is a little bit more problematic, but. At the same time, you can be finished off. I mean, I went driving up. The great thing about it is you see things. I saw a petrol station on a hill, and I was like, "Oh, there's bound to be some shit up there." And I just drove up there, got out, and I got fucking set upon by about God knows how many zombies. And I lost my boy. He died. Have you lost anyone yet?
Yeah.
That was just like shit house. There are. I mean, there's so much wrong with it. I mean, presentation wise, it is, as you said, ludicrous. I mean, have they made any? Have they said they're going to patch it or do anything to fix it? Because it is unbelievably sketchy.
There's talk of a patch to fix a bug. I hope they do a refinement patch. I know it's done very, very well, so hopefully they've got the budget to do that. It's already, I think it's pushing 500,000 already, which is amazing for. It's the second fastest selling game ever on Xbox Live. Yeah. So that's good. But it is sketchy as all hell. There's no doubt about that. And it doesn't do a very good job. In fact, it does an appalling job of explaining itself. So in some ways that's good, because it's nice not to have your hand held too much. And it's really cool when you discover stuff yourself. But at the same time, if I said this in my review, if I didn't have to continue because I was contractually obliged to play, I would have ditched it after 25 minutes, because I don't know what's happening. It's too much information. I don't care, and it looks like shit. Yeah. But do stick with it.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, just mean generally.
Yeah,
peeps.
It's really impressive. I hate to sound like. I mean, there is something very, very bizarre about going between this and. I went between this and Last of Us. I don't recommend doing that by any stretch, because the controls are vaguely similar and you just end up fucking up. In terms of, because it's so, there are as sketchy as it is in terms of the way it looks and the way it plays sometimes, the systems within the camps and within the people and all of the looting and almost everything else seems pretty much rock solid. And at the end of the day, all of that stuff is so much more important. I mean, it sounds stupid to even point it out, but I suppose if you haven't seen it, I'm trying to imagine if someone hasn't seen the game, just how bad.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, the frame rate, especially when you're driving sometimes, is absolutely comical. It's
poor. But I just stopped noticing it after. I mean, I've played the game for about probably 15 hours now, and I barely even notice the sketchy stuff anymore. It just doesn't seem to register.
Yeah.
I'm too busy thinking, I think, trying to either survive, because it gets way harder after probably 6 or 7 hours, and all the different zombie types are out there. Even just a basic little recce to the local few houses just to see what they've got, see what gubbins they've got, is can be, turn into a nightmare where you're calling in reinforcements and having a huge fucking epic war. But it's so involving. It's so completely involving.
Yeah, it is. Brilliant things have happened. I've accidentally set off a load of firecrackers when we're trying to stealth it up to go and get this stuff from. Yeah, I mean, just fucking comedy. It did. I mean, you were so right about it being basically Walking Dead the game. Even the way the where it's set, obviously, but that kind of sort of the autumnal brown shades of everything, and it's. It is very reminiscent of The Walking Dead.
It even has that kind of 3-chord piano somber thing that comes in, which is a really nice. That's sort of that lost music as well. All the music's really good. Some of it's some of it's tranquil, some of it's kind of melancholy, some of it's kind of frantic as well. Also, slight rewind. The music in The Last of Us is fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, come back to State of Decay. Everything apart from the graphics and the frame rate are actually really, really good. But it's like they had £20, and instead of spending £5 on makeup, they just spent £20 on a good meal. Oh my god, that's the weirdest thing I've ever said.
It is. I mean, I can't. There's nothing that it reminds me of. I can't remember a game that looked this bent out of shape, but just played so brilliantly.
Yeah, it's almost like the Fallout in that way. That you just forgive all of the bugs and the sketchy shit. Not that there's really that many bugs in this. But I mean, Fallout looked a lot better than this. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it did. The only, I mean, in terms, I mean, I think in terms of the systems and how much there is going on, it actually feels pretty much perfect. But the only, well, first of all, I think the only way it could be made better is if it was multiplayer, because, but especially when your character's knackered, because your stamina depletes the whole time you keep playing. So you want to go home and swap out. If you go home at night, there was this one time I went home at night and everyone else had pissed off, so I couldn't swap with anyone, so I'd just keep pissing around with this knackered bloke, and I just thought I assumed they were all out sort of missioning it up and doing stuff, and it was that the fact that wasn't other people was kind of disappointing. I would have liked it so much more, even if it was in kind of like a Zombie Dark Souls kind of way where it's they're not there, you know. It's just whether they're leaving notes or they say, I'm going to go do this, and they're playing at a different time from you. You know, something like that. But this is a dry run for another game that I was reading. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to release a full-blown game, I think, on the current gen. So it will probably appear on Xbox 360.
I'd imagine it'll probably end up being on the next one. But, yeah, this is a dry run for an MMO.
Okay, well, I can't say that I really want to play that game. It's really, I feel like I've done a terrible job of explaining what's good about it, because it is a kind of Frankenstein-like patchwork of stuff that you've seen a million times before. Not necessarily all together, but I love the first thing I should probably point out, because I had no idea, and it didn't really sink in until a little while. It is a sandbox, and I don't think people have made that particularly clear. It is like Grand Theft Auto Zombieland, and with all these brilliant systems whereby you're managing the people and you're trying to make sure that everyone's happy. And I've heard also that if you sort of neglect your sort of makeshift family, they can start killing themselves and reacting amongst each other and things like that. But yeah, like that joystick review said, most of what you're doing, it's not mundane to do. It's the kind of stuff that would take a back seat in like a zombie movie, because it's just getting the food, getting the supplies, making sure everyone's all right, doing recce's and stuff. It's one of the biggest surprises of God knows. I mean, I can't remember the last time a game's taken me by surprise this much. Just came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah, like I said, I knew what it was, but I wasn't expecting it to be so complete and so so good. It's kind of an unusual compliment to The Last of Us as well, which is a very almost old-fashioned style of game, very this generation style of game, if anything, and an amazing game, and probably the pinnacle of that style. But in many ways, State of Decay is actually more ambitious. It's not a better game. The Last of Us is a better game, but State of Decay, I said this in my review, it's actually how I opened, will be some people's favourite game ever. I'm sure it will be. People who love zombies and have wanted this will be their favourite game ever.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a hell of a game. I mean, if you're planning on playing Last of Us as well, I'd make sure you keep them well away from each other and do one first and then the other. But it's really, really, I mean, amazingly impressive, really.
Yeah.
I think that's us.
That's us.
Done? Yeah, that's us done.
Sweet. All right. another one in the can. So check out the Facebook, check out the Twitter, John Denton, Chet Roivers, Chet and Johns. Check out the website. Don't check out the website. What else do they check out?
That's pretty much it.
Check out that car. Check out. Check out. Check out.
Check out. Look, next time. We'll see you next time.
See you later.
We won't be so tired next time again, knackered, and we all won't leave so short a time between the pods so we don't ramble shit about nothing. Genuine chat.
Check it out.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
I don't get it.
Weird short skirts, that stuff always scums me out. So I just didn't want to spend time with the limited time I had to play games for the podcast this week. I didn't want to spend time on this one when it wasn't grabbing me.
That actually sounds quite shit. It's recent though, isn't it?
It was 2012. It said, it's decent looking. Maybe there's a great game in there. I should have looked up some reviews actually. I forgot, but it seemed like it had ideas and potential, but it just didn't do anything for me almost immediately.
Okay, fair play. Well, it's from 2012, which is nice. It's funny. I mean, obviously, people have heard about that Microsoft are going to reward 360 gold accounts by giving them 2 free games. I was like, oh yeah, that's clearly inspired by PSN. But PSN, Sony give you stuff like Catherine and Hitman Absolution, not fucking Halo 3. How old is Halo 3? And
they're both 5 years old.
Oh my god, they just. Don't even get me started.
Halo 3 might be 6 years old or even older.
Oh my god, I'm still speechless.
Yeah,
we're still. I mean, this only happened this morning, so I'm still. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, all fine having those games. Chuck them on by all means. Bit weird. This Assassin's Creed 2. Halo 3 is a classic Microsoft, Xbox game, so I don't mind that too much. But if that's really what you're shouting about in your conference, those 2 games, come on. You can go and buy both of them for about 14p.
Yeah, that's it. It's a non-gesture.
Yeah, second hand. You won't like that, will you?
Okay. Anyway, change the subject. Let's. My number 9 is. Have you? What happened?
Sorry,
there?
I'm adjusting my seat. I'll sit differently so I don't do the old seat adjust. People don't like that. Well, you. There we go.
Okay. Are you done?
I'm done.
Genuine. Okay, right. My number 9 is a game called The Chickening on Xbox 360.
You can pick them.
It's an indie game. This is brand
new.
Yeah, it's actually not bad at all. It's a platformer, a side-scrolling platformer, and you're a chicken. The cover art was interesting straight away. It's a guy in a chicken suit who's got like a green army helmet and a rocket launcher and a chainsaw. So I was like, yeah, I'll download that. It's just a side-scrolling game with a chicken, and it shoots lasers from its eyes, and you jump, and there's enemies that are like 7-8 hours, I'd say.
Yeah.
But it's the amount of
time.
Yeah, the amount of water treading in it just is what really destroys it.
Exactly.
But it's worth experiencing for everything else. If you're unsure about it and you're listening to this, when it's £20, it's worth it. Definitely.
Do we know how it did? I haven't checked the charts this week.
It came in at number 3, I think.
Oh, okay, so at least it sold some copies. It's good. I don't wish ban on any game. It's certainly not an offensive piece of work. It didn't really click with me.
All right.
But I still think maybe it's been getting a bit of an unfair kicking. Maybe I gave it a bit of an unfair kicking last week, considering I haven't played that much of it. But people seem to like putting the boot in on it for some reason. But, it's always good when someone takes a bit of a risk and puts money into something interesting. But this one just didn't seem to, for me, doesn't seem to quite have worked out.
Well, I think it's got massive problems, but I recommend it still anyway. Okay, my number 10 is a game called Songs of Travel on PC. It's actually a Flash game. It's a game by Stephen Lavelle, who we've spoken about, who made Slave of God, who goes under the alias Ink Repair Games. And as I said before, he's unbelievably prolific, and he just churns out games like a motherfucker, despite the fact that he seems to be barely surviving on the money he makes. He survives primarily from donations from PayPal, which you can find if you search Ink Repair. But Songs of Travel is... that's the other thing. It's Flash in a browser, but all of his games, they're so... lo-fi that I couldn't imagine anybody who has a computer that's connected to the internet that wouldn't be able to run it. Most of them are PC and Mac compatible, and some of them are Flash, so this one was on a browser. Songs of Travel, a message comes up and it says, paint me a picture of your fondest vacation memory, and up pops this very crude art program. There's 7 colours to choose from, really, really thick. You basically start drawing, and then you draw. It's like 7 colours, and it's shades from white to green. And you draw something, and then next to those colours is a bowl. You click the bowl, and then you basically, from what I can gather, it is... You paint yourself a picture, and then you vomit all over it, because the bowl option just is an unpredictable load of colours that looks like puke.
Pretty damn gold.
Hello and welcome to episode 67 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name is Chet Roivas. With me, as usual, is John Denton.
Mother boy.
The same thing as usual. This is 2 top 10 lists. The 10 games we've been playing over the past 7 days. Number 1s are the games we've been playing the most over the last week, and the number 10s are the games we've been playing the least. John, put me out of my misery.
All right. Number 10 for me is Remember Me. This was a game that I thought, I'll go back to it. You know, we talked about it last week, and I said to myself, give it another go. Maybe I was a bit tired when I played it before. You know, give it another go. So I did. I was stuck in the same memory thing that I was doing before the first one, and I had to do it again from the beginning of that. Even though I was pretty sure I'd done it, it must have not saved. I don't know. So I sat through the bollocks at the beginning of that, and it gets to the bit it's doing the tutorial of that again, and the game just crashed out on me, and I was like, that seems like a sign that I shouldn't play this again. However, I did. I reset the PS3 and played it again and did that bit, and it is clever and it's cool, but then after that I just went back into the game world and did a bit more combat, and I was just like, I'm not feeling it. And I think it's because I know it didn't help, of course, that I'm playing it after watching however many video games in this week's E3. Not that a huge amount of them are hugely more inspiring than Remember Me, which is quite an interesting game, if nothing else. But it just made me want to not play it and think about all the games that are coming up, and so I didn't.
That's a shame. It's the kind of thing I think you might like if you got far enough, but then again...
I kind of wish it was 3 hours long.
Yeah, so do I.
Cost like 12 quid and was focused around those memory things, and yeah, then I'd bash through it, definitely. But I know if it's, what's it, eight standard length, is it?
It's slightly shorter. So it's barely a game. In fact, it's not a game. It's just a thing like, I don't know. The most interesting thing about it is some of the comments that people who've played it have put on the actual download page. They seem to be getting something very, very interesting out of something that I didn't really... seem to enjoy I didn't see. I mean, I've explained exactly what it is. So if that sounds interesting, go and have a look. But I'm going to keep looking through all of his stuff. But this is not a high point so far.
No, but it sounds less like migraine-inducing carnage than Slave of God, though.
Oh yeah, no, it's complete. But it's something he might have done in an afternoon.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Draw yourself a vocation memory and then puke. I don't know.
Something to do in it.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. I'm looking forward to more interesting stuff down the line with him.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, my number 9 is something to do as well. It's a game called Malicious. Now, given the short time frame between recording the last podcast and recording this podcast, because someone's fucking off to Germany, it isn't me, I decided to smash through as much of PlayStation Plus as I could. Everything else I'll talk about later, I knew what it was already, but this game, have you ever heard of Malicious?
No, I can't say I have, no.
It's like the styling's very anime. I didn't know. I thought it might end up being an RPG or something like that. It's a weird action game that it's like a third-person action game where you scoot around these worlds and attack enemies. But the way you attack them is almost by firing things off your body, and then you're dodging bullets. So it's almost like bullet hell in third person, but it was completely unengaging and very, very floppy. The camera shit, the controls weren't very good. It looked nice, it was stylish. I'm assuming it was just a PSN game that completely passed me by. But when it comes to stuff on PS Plus, because you can download a lot, it's kind of like Netflix. If you're flicking through Netflix and you don't know what you're going to watch, if it doesn't grab you within 5 minutes, often you might just switch to something else. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about PS Plus stuff. This didn't grab me at all. Plus the fucking anime girls in
cat heads on human faces and Zimmer frames with eyes. I mean, funnily enough, it made me think of Black Knight's Sword. It's that wacky, but it's kind of made in the cheapest. It looks like a really, really like a 9-year-old's collage or something. You're walking around on like what looks like babies' arms that have been like cut out of a newspaper.
Right.
And for a game that's as simple and unambitious, it's actually like surprisingly entertaining, and it's well designed as well. It's not for most platforms that you play, especially on the indie game space, are just really, really just they're a chore to play. This is actually all right. Yeah, I was completely and utterly surprised. It's completely jumble sale, I suppose you'd say. It looks like a collage that a child would have done on the front of a school exercise book or something with loads of random stuff. But it's a surprisingly efficient little platformer. It's fine. 80 Microsoft points as well. Good on it.
Cats' heads on human faces walking around on babies' arms.
Yes.
That sounds horrendous.
And there's also, disembodied fingers and stuff. It's weird looking and not in an unpleasant way. And it's just fun to play. It's good. The chicken out.
Great name.
Yeah.
Truly. All right. Sticking with my PS Plus, Joe Danger 2, the movie, is number 8. You talked about it ages ago. I've got nothing more to add. I was playing it, and I was like, "This is cool. This is fine. It's fun. It's nice. It's bright. It's stylish." I don't really have anything bad to say about it, but it just didn't. It didn't grab me. Kind of the same as Joe Danger 1, but more so, I felt like I just wanted to get back on the normal bike and do bike stuff, and it kept switching me. I was starting in a minecart and all this sort of stuff at the beginning. It made me either want to play Joe Danger 1, Trials, or Stuntman Ignition from ages ago on 360, because that was obviously you're a stuntman and it kind of had that quite cool trial and error, almost like the Club but a driving game, that's a terrible analogy. But it just made me want to play something else, which I feel bad, because if I'd bought it and this was the only game I had right now, I'd probably stick with it. But again, it's that PS Plus syndrome. It's the light and shade of PS Plus.